we're going to go to a lovely place called Samlesbury Hall. Now, Samlesbury is a great listed building.
Yes.
You may have been there, David. You may have been there.
I haven't been there, but we've had a few articles about it on the Spooky Isle, so we know what it is. So tell us about it.
This is a spooky story with a rather beautiful ending, actually. We're going to turn the clock back now to 1926. The hall was built in the year 1322, and that year it was renovated. They couldn't let any Tom, Dick and Harry work in the hall. It had to be someone who was highly skilled in medieval buildings. One such person fitted the bill quite beautifully, and wait for his name, Mr. Michael Palin. No relation to our Monty Python star whatsoever. Michael was a highly accomplished renovator of medieval buildings. He'd worked in Levens Hall in Cumbria, Bram Hall in Cheshire, Bodelwyd in North Wales. He knew his stuff. He arrived on a gorgeous June day in 1923 with his 4 apprentices. He gave each apprentice a different part of the building to work on, and he chose the main hall. He got his ladder, climbed up the ladder to the top near the roof there, where there was some old and eroded stone. With a hammer and chisel, he chiselled away at the old stone and knocked a block off. As it fell towards the earth, he was horrified to find standing beneath it a little boy with curly black hair. He shouted, "Look out!" The little boy just stood there. The stone came down, grazed his nose, and landed right in front of his toes. Palin came down the ladder to give this lad a piece of his mind, but the role was reversed. The little boy shouted, "You shouldn't be here! You shouldn't be here! Mr. Hartley won't like it." "Look, lad, I've got a job to do. You stand back. You could have been very badly injured." He climbed up the ladder, turned round, the little boy gone. Strange. He must be a quick runner. For the next 5 months, they worked their socks off, bringing in new timber, new stone, new tiles, and Salmesbury Hall was beginning to look a bit like its former self once again. They arrived as usual for another hard day's graft on a bitterly cold December day. The blue sky disappeared and was filled with clouds full of snow, deep, deep snow. The heavens opened and snow came down from the heavens with a wind, a blizzard. Michael looked out of the window and saw the snow was rising up towards the window edges. He said to his 4 boys, "I'm really sorry, lads. Tonight, there's no way we'll get home. The roads have been clogged with snow. We'll have to spend the night here." The 4 boys complained it was getting towards Christmas, but they realised outside was a blizzard of incredible proportions. Michael said, "It will be dark by 4:30. We'll trudge into the nearby forest, get lots of firewood, and keep the fire going in the main hall all night." By 4:30, it was completely dark. They brought back tree trunks, they brought back branches and twigs, and they got a glowing fire going. Now, in those days, no Nintendos, no mobile phones, no radio, no television. The only form of entertainment would be a good night's sleep, really. So the 4 of them got their bedrolls, rolled them out in front of the fire, and fell into a deep sleep. Michael was an ardent Christian. He climbed on his bedroll, had a few words with the good Lord upstairs, and then he glanced to the right, where the door leading into the main hall was, and saw a beautiful golden glowing light. And out of that golden glowing light suddenly stepped a very, very beautiful young lady in Georgian dress. She elegantly made her way past Palin, in between the sleeping apprentices, knelt down in front of the fire, and put her hands together in prayer, and prayed that her husband would survive the war. She then shimmered and crackled and left a real scent in the air. Michael's heart accelerated in his chest. His mouth went dry. He gingerly glanced for the second time at the door and saw another golden glowing shape. And out of that golden glowing shape stepped a First World War army officer who walked straight through Palin, put his hand on top of the mantelpiece and uttered the words, "Hope I survived the war." He too disappeared. By now, Palin, from his vantage point on the floor on his bedroll, is deeply upset. He's witnessed something very, very paranormal. He gingerly, nervously looks at the door for the 3rd time and sees a much smaller golden glowing light. And out of that small glowing light appeared the little boy with the curly black hair that had nearly been hit by the stone in June of that year. He ran past Palin, but through the sleeping apprentices. As you can imagine, Michael did not sleep very well that night. But quite surprisingly, when he woke up, he didn't tell the 4 apprentices. He didn't tell anyone, not even his wife and children. But some 20 years later, in 1943, as an elderly gentleman, he was walking past Salmesbury Hall on a lovely summer's afternoon. He saw parked outside the main entrance a military vehicle belonging to the Royal Air Force. He thought, RAF, what are they doing there? He walked across the lawns, got to the front door, which leads into the main hall, and saw by the fireplace that he had renovated all those years ago were two Royal Air Force personnel. One was a female, one was a male in RAF uniform. The door clicked, they turned round, Palin entered the room and made eye contact with a young lady in the RAF uniform. He just stood and stared at her. Quite naturally, she felt very embarrassed. May I help you, please? Her companion, the officer, intervened. Can we help you, please? Palin recognised the young girl in the RAF uniform to be the same beautiful young lady he'd seen walk out of that golden light in the Tudor dress. He told her, she burst into tears, Mr. Palin, I don't disbelieve a word you've told me, but I'm from the city of Leicester. I've never been to Lancashire in my life before, but as we drove past, I shouted, stop, stop, I know this place. I've been here before. And you, Mr. Palin, have just answered my anxieties. A truly beautiful story.